Welcome back, everybody, and we have another episode of On the Delo. This is episode 156. We've been doing this 156 times. So a couple things. I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for all of you that have subscribed. The following and the subscription keeps getting bigger and bigger by the moment. I've been doing this probably going on 4 years now, and only 156 episodes, trying to get in one a week here. And today is Sunday. It's bright and early before I go hit Metcon, wearing my beanie if you're watching on YouTube. And yes, it does get cold in Arizona for those of you listening outside of Arizona. Well, it's been an interesting week. It's been busy. We've been working on our backyard. As you may or may not know, if you've been listening or you follow me on social media, follow me on Instagram, by the way. I am the Delo on Instagram. But if you know, we've buried our pool. That's right. And as I wear this beanie in Arizona in the wintertime, I have come to the conclusion that the pool was not necessary. Didn't like the chemicals, didn't like the fact that I couldn't even stand in it. The pool was so deep. It was a diver's pool built probably in the 1800s. No, I'm just kidding. But it was deep. It was about 13 feet in the deep end, and I'm only 4'2", so the shallow end was even too deep for me to where I'd have to tread water. So, needless to say, we didn't use it. We buried it, and now we're doing this major construction in the back. I've got some amazing workers there. Some of these guys I've known for a decade, and they are blasting music, having a good time, and just enjoying themselves, doing a really good job. So I'm sure if you follow me on social, you'll see updates of all that stuff. So that's going on. My wife and I were working through car situations, which are good situations. I mean, it's just, money problems, right? And we got a couple new Toyotas, one on the way, one just arrived. This one that she got is the same type of vehicle, but it's a different vehicle. It's a newer and a bigger version. So it's been interesting watching my wife get used to a bigger vehicle. At first, it was like the end of the world. Now it's not so much the end of the world. And as of last night, we're going to keep it. So it's fun. It's a lot of good stuff. Today, I wanted to talk about FOMO, F-O-M-O, otherwise known as fear of missing out. And if you don't know what FOMO is, well, just think about those times where maybe your friends went out and did something and you couldn't go, or maybe you decided not to go. But in the moment and during the moments, you're sitting there going, gosh, I wonder what's going on. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder, right? And we let those mind games just kind of play with us at all times. And FOMO happens everywhere. It can happen in family arrangements and friendship arrangements. It can happen in business arrangements, like think about the art of the deal, right? So when you look at making a business deal, and let's just say in every aspect of business, if you think about it. So for me, when I think of FOMO and I think about my early career and even, up to date to certain points, if I didn't go to that meeting in person, I had this fear of missing out. Like I was going to miss out in something that was going to be said or done or picked up that, unfortunately, if I missed out, I wouldn't get the deal or I wouldn't understand what was going on. I'd be so separated from what was actually going on, when in reality, none of it really matters. None of it matters at all, actually. I would have FOMO in personal settings as well. Like when you're single and you're, going around gallivanting, you have so many choices, right? And you have FOMO of not taking one of the choices over the other. So maybe there's a concert I wanted to go to with a group of friends, but I decided to go do something else. And then I would see, during the time when social media started, you start seeing all the things on Facebook about where these people were going, what they were doing, and you thought you missed out. But in reality, you really didn't, because the choices that we make and the choices that we do right now are the choices that are meant to be. And if you accumulate the amount of times that you had FOMO. Call it whatever you want. Call it, the thought of missing out, blah, blah, blah. FOMO is just a relatable word for this podcast so that you guys can get a perspective and understanding for where I'm coming from. But think about all the things in the past that you think you missed out on, and really none of it matters. You were at the right place at the right time doing the right things. Now, I'm not going to say that there probably weren't things that you don't have regrets. Like maybe that last Van Halen concert at the Hollywood Bowl that I wish I would have went. Didn't know it was going to be Eddie Van Halen's last concert. And maybe for you, that's another entertainment event, or maybe that's something within your family, the last time you might have seen a relative, or the last time you had talked to somebody, or the last time you got together with a friend that they had asked you to go do that, and now you didn't, and now you have that regret. And that's okay. I mean, that's just part of life. We can't be everywhere for everybody all the time. So FOMO is a real thing, but it's also something that you can grasp and you can get some understanding and get some control over, for sure. There's a lot of impact on our mental clarity, our decision making, and fulfillment with FOMO. So if you keep thinking about things that you're missing out on, you never live in the moment that you're living, that you're actually in. Therefore, you're missing out on a whole bunch of other stuff. You're missing out on the most important things of what's in front of you. And I'm guilty as charged. I get so involved in my work that this phone, where is it? This phone here becomes like a crutch. It becomes a crutch of always checking and seeing, because you're excited. I know a lot of you in business are just excited. You're excited for the next deal. You're excited who's going to respond to that email. You put feelers out there for an employee. There's a transaction or a contract you're waiting for, or maybe it's just a new car, right? And you have this FOMO that if you're not checking your phone, if your head's not up technology's butthole, that you're going to miss out. All of a sudden, it's going to be gone if you're not there right in that moment. And I am guilty as charged. And so many times I will sit at the dinner table with a phone on me. I'm getting better. I'm starting to put this stuff away. But it's like an exercise. It's an exercise and a mantra, just like anything else with health and wellness for me. I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast. And you got to... you don't have to do anything. I'm really trying to correct myself on telling people what they have to do. I've had to, and you do what you want, I've had to correct myself and my habits and the way that I do things, because when you get to learn about yourself and you get to learn about your personality, your life changes. And the only person that I really think that you as a person need to understand is yourself. Understand how you operate. Understand what triggers you. Understand what makes you do the things that you do that creates a negative or a positive impact in the time value of your life, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, take acknowledgement of what you're doing in the present and how you're doing it and what you're missing out on or what you're not missing out on. And think about all the times that maybe you were so busy checking on things that this day and age, a week later, a month later, a year later, are completely irrelevant, right? And think about when you were with somebody and you weren't in that moment and you weren't able to have clarity of what was going on. You weren't able to make a clear decision in the moment, which has caused you some sort of negative impact in the future. So as I work out my FOMO muscle, and now that I'm older, right, and a little more established, I will say FOMO certainly goes away in your 50s as compared to your 40s and your 30s, and especially your 20s. I mean, there's so much FOMO in your 20s. What's funny is you have so much FOMO in your 20s and you have no fucking money, right? You want to go do all this stuff that, skiing and Telluride, traveling Europe, all these things. And at least in my case, I was broke, driving a minivan, starting a business, right? You've heard this story before. I'm not going to repeat it. Although I will, DM me if you want to hear the story, or just check out an old podcast. But the point being, in your 20s, you're doing everything that you can to be a part of something with very limited resources. In your 50s, I really think the effects of FOMO go down considerably because you just like what you like when you're old, right? And I look at my dad, who's 76 now, and he just doesn't give a shit. He don't want to do anything. Like, to get him to go to a movie is like getting, a 2-year-old to lay down for a nap. He likes what he likes. He likes his routines. He likes his stuff. And I think that's true with most old people. I mean, look at your parents or look at your old uncle or your aunt and imagine taking them out of that element. Now, yes, there are outliers and people to the element that are adventurous, that in their 80s still like to skydive or scuba dive or whatever you call it, whatever they're able to do. But not me and not my wife. Like, we are making more plans and more plans to hibernate and stay away from everybody because I've been with everybody for my whole life. And it's kind of funny how I'm creating these new businesses. I like these podcasts. I've been doing solo podcasts, I think, for the last handful, pretty much all this year, because not that I don't like to coordinate and be with people and hear their story and interview them. And of course, I will do some more of that. But it got to such a point where the distraction of booking the guest, creating, the mantra, getting ready for the podcast, all that sort of stuff just became more of a liability than an asset for me as I'm just trying to roll my business and do other things. And so until that system and that process is down and it's easy to maneuver, I'm okay. Whereas before I would have FOMO, like, oh my goodness, I got to have this person on, or people will reach out to me and it's like, hey, are you interested? And yes is the answer. I'm always interested to talk to somebody and have that, but now I'm not worried about missing out on it because it just doesn't fit my routine or my schedule. And I think that's something that we all have to really think about within ourselves. Like, are we going to go do something that's going to take us out of our element, out of our schedule, out of our thing? Do we need to be adventurous sometimes? Yeah, of course. But at what cost? Right? Adventure, there's always a cost. Now, there might be a bigger life cost when you're adventuring in the jungle with wild snakes that want to bite you with venom and you lose your extremities, okay? Or maybe, the thing eats you whole. That's a different cost of adventure as opposed to going to some sort of business function that people want to sell you a timeshare that you didn't realize. You thought you were going to get business out of it, so you lose a couple hours of your life, right? And maybe some sanity. Different costs, different adventures. So I'm really doing a cost-benefit analysis on all of my adventures based on how much FOMO is left in my tank, right? How much am I missing out on? And not to say that there aren't a lot of opportunities that come to me now because I'm the wizard of establishment. I'm like the old Jedi wizard that's not quite the ancient wizard, right? So I'm right in between. I'm not in my 20s and I'm not in my 70s. I'm in my 50s. I'm in my peak, right? And maybe we say that maybe that's what we believe in our head, like I'm in my peak. I just get all these opportunities. People want to work with me and they want to do stuff. And it's because I've worked hard. I've worked hard to get where I'm at in this point in life. And I know a lot of you have as well. So people are knocking on your door, right? They're knocking on the door and they have this great opportunity. And if you come work with us and you come do this, you're going to benefit. But who's really going to benefit? It's usually the person knocking on your door. They're going to benefit usually more. That's why they're coming to you, because you are an asset into what it is that they are creating. And they recognize that. Okay? Now, I want to reference a book I've been reading. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. It's called Irreplaceable. Here it is. I was at Barnes & Noble. Let's talk about bookstores for a second. Wow. I love bookstores. Please, America, do not extinct. How do I say it? Is that right? Extinct. Do not take out all of our bookstores, okay? Barnes & Nobles are kick-ass. What a great place to get lost in and walk around without your phone and go look at hardcover books. There's nothing like a hardcover book. I cannot read a book on my phone. I know a lot of you do audiobooks, and I think that's great, especially if you're in the car and you're just trying to educate yourself and do stuff. But there's nothing like, we had a rainy day the other day. I came home a little bit early, Dogs are in the bed with me. Cracked open this book, and I was like, this is the life. And I'm like, who am I? My grandmother? Like, okay. But it's so relaxing to hold something and read it and go through the pages. And I think I've mentioned before, I wrote my own book, Reignite Your Spark. Here we go. Just getting started. Little plug for myself. You can go on Amazon, buy this book. It will take you about 10 minutes to read. I'm working on another book right now, a little bit of heart and soul in this new book with some life lessons, but this is a good one to get you reinvigorated. There's a half-nude picture of me on the back for any of you looking to check that out. It's some old dude in his 50s. Thank you, Certified Health Nut, again for the inspiration. Point being is that I have a book. Bookstores are fucking awesome. Go to a bookstore. Go spend an hour there. They even put a Starbucks in there if you like to drink your little Starbucks and walk around, and go buy a couple books. And that's what I did. So I bought this book, Irreplaceable. Author is Pascal Bornet. I'm probably butchering his name. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it's B-O-R-N-E-T, Bornet. So I want to talk about some stuff that I read in that this morning. And, you know, he defines FOMO in a way where it's like anxiety that others are having rewarding experiences without you, okay? Anxiety, you're having anxiety that these other people are having these rewarding experiences without you. Guess what, folks? It's happening every second, every day of our lives. People are out there having fun, making the most of their lives, and they're posting about it, and you're seeing it, and you think that you're missing out, when in reality, you're not missing shit. You're missing out by spending too much time focusing on them having a great time and not creating your own great time, right? That's honestly how I feel about the whole situation. Now, when you get into the terms of social media, which my last podcast is about the benefits of social media and how to utilize it to grow a business, which is what I've been able to do. Now, I'm trying to learn I am utilizing the aspect of post and ghost, right? Post it, and then Casper comes out. Casper, the friendly ghost. And what does he do? He takes me away from the phone. Because once you get into the scrolling mechanism and the algorithm of what they want you to do, you're screwed. You're totally screwed. So now, like my wife, my wife has houses, pillows, dogs, and what else? Bashar, who's like a dude that channels an alien. That's her feed. That's it. She'll get on there and hours of Bashar, aliens, dogs, couches, and pillows. And then she'll send me all these little things for me to get sucked into the wormhole of couches, pillows, dogs, and aliens. Now, I'm not going to argue. That's pretty fucking cool, right? And I think my feed is like Toyota 4Runners. It's weightlifting. It's this guy, Anatoly, who he dresses up in overalls and he's completely shredded underneath, and he wears like sandals, and he goes in the gym, and like all these big buff guys are like trying to lift these barbells with like 18 plates on each side, and Anatoly comes up, oh no, he's like pretending like he's cleaning the place. This is great. If you guys are into this stuff, you gotta watch it. Meanwhile, as I talk about going down the rabbit hole and being screwed in the algorithm, I get screwed in it. And he comes up to the bar and he just starts lifting it with simple ease. I mean, this guy has the technique of a surgeon when it comes to lifting weights. And it's just so funny to watch these guys' reactions in their faces. So it's kind of fun. That's fun, that's fun for me. That's a good algorithm. Now, the political algorithm or the we're all gonna die algorithm or the war algorithm, I can't do it. It sucks. Do curiosities kill the cat and get us sometimes? Absolutely. So more and more of getting away from that and really just kind of being entertained and getting into it, but also pulling away from it when we can. And so social media, what they do is they amplify your FOMO, and they showcase and curate all these highlights of what it is that they think that you want to see, and you tell them what you want to see by seeing the things that are on there. I mean, this little phone, this little thing that you have that's listening to you right now and that you're listening to stuff off of, it is such an amazing invention to track everybody, both physically and mentally. Think about that, physically and mentally. So the psychological impact can really be, stress. It can overwhelm and it create decision fatigue, right? I mean, how much decision fatigue do all of us have like on a daily basis? It's absolutely crazy. So FOMO is real. I've had it a lot, all the time. When I go into this book, Irreplaceable, I want to talk about chapters 12 and 13. They were really good. So what Pasquale talks about is the focus on essential experiences versus trying to do everything. Essential experiences versus trying to do everything. So when you understand the power of positive constraints to limit options and improve focus, you look at these positive constraints and you constrain yourself from doing certain things, like getting caught up in that algorithm, thinking that you're missing out on anything, and creating your own excitement within the present moment that you're in, not even realizing or caring what anybody else is doing in the moment, because you're living in your moment and not in their moment. And maybe you get on social media after a while and you have your allotted time frame and you look at it and you just be grateful and happy for them, and not that you missed out on something. That's where I'm going with this. It's creating that self-awareness as a tool so you can combat all this. And the self-awareness is so important. So when you look at creating intentional boundaries, you want to clarify what your values are. What are my values? What do I really love and respect and want in life? And when you create this, let's just say, process of understanding that you, as a person, will accept this and not accept this. You'll pay attention to this and not pay attention to this. Again, we're human. It's kind of like, for me, alcohol. Like, I quit alcohol. We're going on 11 years come June. It was a decision. It wasn't like I was an alcoholic or a drunk, and not downplaying that whatsoever. That's a very serious and important thing. It was one of those things where I had FOMO. If I wasn't drinking, or if I wasn't sitting in the bar, or if I wasn't doing certain things, I felt like I was missing out. Well, I replaced that FOMO with a marriage, with somebody. My wife doesn't drink. She may have a glass of wine once a quarter, right? Once every 3 months. And it's a glass of wine, that's it. And she's good. And when I decided marriage was more important than sitting at the bar, because I finally met my soulmate, my person that gives me that, I lost the FOMO of having to go out there and be with a bunch of people that were quote-unquote drinking buddies. And there was nothing wrong with that. That was fun. I had a good time. I have zero regrets about it. It's not like I was, not getting shit done and not working. I built a whole business during that. Because of, those habits and those relationships, I've built a whole business doing hospitality insurance. And it's absolutely amazing to me. But there was FOMO. There was definitely FOMO when I first met Kim and we got married, and I was like, oh my God, am I missing out on going to these events or these places and not having a drink? And it soon just dissipated, because what was more important to me was my relationship and my attention to my wife, and not my attention to everybody else and being that old person that I was in the moment with alcohol, right? So I just decided one day, I'm going to quit. I'm clarifying my value as somebody that wants more out of life. I want to give my wife more attention. I want to be more predictable. I want to be more efficient. I want to feel good. I want to be healthy. I have 2 kids now. I acquired my 2 sons, Jack and Matthew, meow. And I've acquired them, and I want to be there for them. I want to be healthy, and I want to be strong, right? And I figured in my 40s, at 40 and a half, I believed it was a good time to really get that in check and move on. So I clarified my values, and I asked myself, what at this point in my life brings me joy and fulfillment? And that was being with my wife, most important, and having my kids, right? And being there for them and being present. So I had this filter that helped me guide these decisions and become, let's just say, more of who I am now in this season of life. And so I created JOMO, J-O-M-O, right? The joy of missing out. Now, that sort of reaction or that sort of, let's say, background, it has no effect on me. I could give a shit less about alcohol or having a drink, or it makes me cringe. It makes me sick when I smell it, right? It's just not a part of my life. I was able to adjust and change. Just like when you're on your cell phone and you're like, God, I've been on this thing for too much. We have to adjust and change, right? If that's what we want to do, we have to do it. And we can do it in microdosing. We can do it in ways where we're just cold turkey. We all have different personalities. We all have different types A's, B's, C's, D's, E's. I don't know what the other ones are. I just know I'm type A. And so when I go in, I go all in. And ask my wife, she'll tell you. So the joy of missing out now is like, if I gotta go work a festival or a food event or something like that, it's work now. Whereas before, it was work, but it was also a social engagement. And there's still a lot of that aspect, but I'm more, let's just say, I'm more present and cognizant, and I have purpose when I go there now. It's not just purpose of just being around and being there. It's the purpose of getting some stuff done, creating those engagements, seeing those people, and having a presence, right? A real presence. Not a fake presence. So as I learn to embrace saying no to things, I say no to those things that don't relate to the values that I have now. And it's great. So I'm replacing this FOMO with fueled activities with deeper and more meaningful connections. I'm creating these rituals and routines, and as you know, I have all these habits. I wake up early, I work out, I walk, I play with my dogs. I am so busy every single day, there's not a second, even if it's a nap time or a meditation, there's not a second where I'm not doing something. And during the work week, there's always stuff. And the problem with the work week is I'm actually, Alex, my new organizer and business manager, I guess we can call her, she's organizing my life so I can be more efficient, but also more relaxed and more happy with where I'm at. So I'm curating my own environment, just like you can curate your own environment, and just limit social media exposure, the constant, comparison. Stop comparing to anybody else. There's only one you, and there's only one essence of doing the things that you want to do, right? And that's only right for you and nobody else. And what everybody else is doing is not right for you, it's right for them. Enjoy it. And look at it as entertainment if you're going to be on there and do that sort of thing, but don't think that you're ever missing out, right? So I just want to reinforce the message that when you live with intention, okay, you wake up and you say, cool, I'm going to do this today. And then you do the things repetitively every day that give you purpose, that give you meaning, that help you with the mental and the physical and the movement of your life and the breath of life, the relationships in your humanness and person with somebody. When you do all of that, you eliminate FOMO. Bye-bye, FOMO. See you later. So I encourage you, my friends, my subscribers, to share this podcast, please. But also, I encourage you to really reflect on what matters to you the most. Is it going to events or to things that don't resonate with you, but you feel like you have to because you're going to miss out? Is it doing things that you absolutely cannot stand, but you feel like you're gonna miss out, right? Or if you don't do it, something's gonna go wrong? Is it being on social media for hours a day just to scroll through, or maybe you're playing Candy Crush and you don't want to lose the money, which is brilliant. I think Candy Crush, they were saying after 2 days, if you don't log in, you lose like all of your credits. I mean, it's gambling, it's gambling in a sense of gambling with your time, gambling with one of your most important assets, and that's your attention and your presence. So I encourage you, if you want to deep dive more into these concepts, to check out this book, Irreplaceable by Pascal Bornet. And it's a really good read as far as AI and the structure of everything that goes on. But I wanted to talk about FOMO today. So if you get a chance, come check out our mastermind, Built Different. Jeremy, Scott, and I are doing this mastermind. Right now, the community's free to get in, to join. Once you get in there, I'm going to completely try to sell you something. No, I'm kidding. Once you get in there, I want to communicate with you. I want to help you in any way I can. I want you to help me. Quite honestly, we all help each other. We're all equals in this sort of thing. Now, we are going to have some paid courses in there. We do have some one-on-one coaching. These are the things that I enjoy doing now. These are the things that I want to create so that I help others. And I'm hoping this podcast helps others as well. So please, if you do get a chance, please 5-star this. Please subscribe it. Please share it. And write a review. Just, hey, Delo's cool. You know, I enjoy Delo. Whatever you want. I just something nice, please. I really want to keep doing this. This is something that is not necessarily FOMO if I don't. It's something that I'm here and I'm present with you, and I love talking to you. So I will put in show notes about the Built Different Mastermind. Put in show notes about some of the other stuff that we're offering. Remember that I do sell insurance. I sell a lot of it, not just in hospitality, home, auto, life. I have a lot of great affiliates. If you're looking for business tips or help or services, let me know. I'm like Angie's List, but it's like Delo's List, right? And I know all the owners of these companies and all these people. So if you can this week, I want you to reflect on the area where you replace this FOMO with this JOMO, okay? And remember, you weren't built to fit in. You were built different. So until next time, we'll see you on the Delo. Peace out.